Hello and welcome to NEWSAT10 on TV3. We're live on DSTV channel 279. My name is Grace Hamwa Asari. Let's begin with the news highlights. Cocoa farmers in Setre East districts of the Ashanti region are requesting government to supply them with pesticides. Large hectares of farms have been destroyed, leaving them dejected with very little to show for their years of toil. Also, fuel prices have gone up by about 2%. Ghanaian petroleum consumers have over the past 24 hours been hit with another fuel price increases. Prices at most oil marketing companies have shot up from previous market averages of 4.850 per litre for both petrol and diesel to 4.950 per litre for both products. Now, 5 persons were burned to death after fire razed their home at Kokofoto at Dansoman in Accra. The accident reportedly happened this morning between 5 and 6 a.m. And the Ministry of Special Development Initiative will be adding 5,000 cubic meters of biogas daily to their national gas stock by September this year. The toilet facilities under the 1 million cities per constituency are designed with special biogas digesters to generate the energy. On the international front, U.S. President Donald Trump on Sunday angrily denounced the federal probe of Russia's 2016 election meddling as McCarthyism at its worst, insisting he had authorized his White House counsel to testify to bring the matter to a close. Trump's Twitter storm was set off by a front-page report in the New York Times that said White House counsel Don McGahn had provided special counsel Robert Mueller with an unusually detailed account of Trump's thinking during key episodes under investigation. Let's do a first story now. Fuel prices have gone up by about 2%. Ghanaian petroleum consumers have over the past 24 hours been hit with another fuel price increases. Prices at most oil marketing companies have shot up from previous market averages of 4.850 per litre for both petrol and diesel to 4.950 per litre for both products.
A gallon of petrol sold for 21.825 Ghana cedis has now shot up to 22.275 Ghana cedis. Most of the major importers attribute the latest hikes to the poor performance of the cedi following the marginal increases in world market prices over the past 2 weeks. Meanwhile, the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers is calling for a national dialogue on the current pricing build-up. A statement issued and signed by its Executive Secretary, Duncan Amoah, underscored the need for possible adjustments to halt the frequent price escalations.
So this is a developing story and we'll stay on it in our subsequent bulletins, so we bring you more. Away from that, the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, DVLA, is set to embark on a new electronic vehicle registration and documentation exercise. The exercise will begin with vehicles with a customized number plate to recertify their registration and enroll them in the new system. Let's go on the phone lines now and speak with Francis Asamoah-Tufor, Public Relations Manager at the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, my sister, and how are you?
Very well, thank you. So what is the essence of the recertification exercise?
Thank you very much once again, and thanks to your listeners as well. Well, the purpose of this exercise is to enroll the owners of these particular vehicles onto a new system. This new system, we are going to convert their vehicle documents onto a new smart card. It's going to be in the form of a new license so that at any point in time, they can easily pick the card onto their pocket or into their pocket rather than carrying their documents into their vehicles, because most often people complain that their vehicles are either being broken into by thieves with the target of getting their vehicle documents away. And secondly, we have noticed that most of the customized vehicles in the system are fake. Why am I saying this? If you look, especially you have to, for customized vehicles, the alphanumeric or the letters are not supposed to be more than 6. It should be between 1 and 6. But of late, what we see in the system is that we have encountered vehicles with 7, 8, and 9 alphanumerics. For instance, if I'm Francis, I cannot use my name Francis to register. Yes, you can have a vehicle with a registration number of TV3 or Newsroom 1 or Newsroom 2, because Newsroom 4 is, if you look at the alphanumeric of TV3, that is 3 numbers or 3 alphabets. It is within that range, either 1 up to 6, but we have 6, 7, 8 in the system. So clearly, this should tell you that it's an activity by these Goro guys. And what the sad aspect is that they are even charging more than what we are charging. The latest information that we gathered was that they are charging between 7,000 and 9,800 just for a number plate.
As compared to how much the DVLA takes?
No, these Goro guys, for customized vehicles, the cost for registration is 5,000. But what the Goro guys are doing is that they are charging people between 7,000 and 9,800 cedis, which is way beyond what we are charging. And we've realized that this is a crime. So we have decided that with the intelligence that they should bring their documents. And once they bring their documents, they will authenticate if the document or the number plate is genuine. And once it is genuine, that means that we have to convert your document onto the new smart card in the form of a small license. But if you have, and we detect that the information is not on our database, we'll ask you to pay the normal price. And finally, if you can help us also to trace whoever provided you with such a number. Because it is a crime. Even though DVLA, we pick money, we don't keep the money ourselves. The money is for the state. So how can we allow few people to be duping the state? How can you charge 9,800 just for a number plate? But unfortunately, I mean, most often people refer to some of these issues as DVLA staff operating in some quarters. So we just want to use your medium to tell people that there are a lot of reforms at DVLA, and per the reforms, this is one of the steps. So at least we try to use this means to sanitize the system. The system has been compromised.
So will other vehicle owners also go under this exercise? Apart from those who have customized number plates, will other vehicle owners go through this exercise?
We are starting with the customized vehicles because per our research, the customized vehicles are not enough. The number of customized vehicles are not enough in the system compared to the regular numbers. For the numbers, we have different stages. We have customized one, we have specialized numbers, we have operational numbers for the security, we have diplomatic ones, and then we have government vehicles, a lot. Okay. So we are starting first with the customized numbers so that we will check the system, clean the mess in the system, so we can put them in proper order.
So it's been some, let me say, 19 days since the new vehicle tax was introduced. Can you update us on it? How many vehicles have been registered so far?
Very well. God willing, if you wouldn't mind, because I have to communicate with all the districts and the regions across the country. If you wouldn't mind, tomorrow, before your midday news or evening, I'll relay that information to our regional and district offices so that you can update me with the latest information as to how many vehicles were registered so that I can get back to you.
That should be okay. Thank you very much. I've been speaking with Francis Asamoah-Tefuo, who is Public Relations Manager at the DVLA, that's the Driver Vehicle Licensing Authority. You're still watching News at 10 on TV3. We're also live on DSTV channel 279. My name is Grace Hamwa. Sorry, let's do some other stories. The Minister of Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta, says the African Capacity Building Foundation, ACBF, is critical in addressing youth unemployment. The foundation has invested in excess of $37 million in capacity building and financial support to improve doing business in Ghana.
Ghana's Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is the chair of the governing board of the African Capacity Building Foundation, ACBF, for the next 2 years. The foundation, which has been granted the status of a specialized agency because of its potential to transform Africa through capacity development, consists of finance ministers of African countries partnered by the World Bank, African Development Bank, and the United Nations Development Programme, and some non-regional partners. The foundation, since its inception in 1991, has committed about $700 million towards numerous capacity-building initiatives in 48 countries in Africa and 8 regional economic communities in Africa.
Countries like Rwanda, like Ghana, like Kenya, Senegal, we have really helped them to really articulate the gaps that they have so that they will be able to invest in the proper areas that will help them to improve their policy making, implement those policies, because policy implementation is a major problem in Africa.
The Executive Secretary noted African countries have so far contributed $3.38 million towards capacity building in addressing the continent's transformational growth needs. The amount is, however, only 34% of the targeted $5 million earmarked by the African Capacity Building Foundation. Minister for Finance Ken Ofori-Atta noted the foundation is critical in addressing the continent's youth unemployment.
So my expectation, especially with them being here, is to encourage them to look at those intractable problems that we need to tackle as a continent, which is revenue, mobilization, digitalization, which is important to us, the whole issue of the future of work, and therefore how we train our youth, which you know about the demographic dividend. If we don't manage it well, it could become a disaster.
As the African Union Specialized Agency for Capacity Development, following over 27 years of work, the foundation is best placed to advise and support African countries, regional economic communities, and institutions on decisive steps to take to develop the practical skills urgently required for the continent's economic transformation.
The chairperson of Ghana Psychological Council, Professor Angela Ofori-Atta, says Ghana loses 7% of GDP through psychological distress. Addressing the 4th scientific conference held at UPSA in Accra, the professor said this is so because the nation is not taking mental well-being as seriously as it ought to.
The theme for the conference was thought, behavior and action, making the Sustainable Development Goal count in national development. The chairperson of the Ghana Psychological Council, Professor Angela Ofori-Atta, stressed that Ghana can do more to address the negative impact of mental strain on national development.
We know that chronic diseases are impacted by psychological health. So you are more likely to get a stroke, or make your diabetes worse, or your sickle cell anemia recurrence of crises more frequent if your stress levels are high is about making sure that our environments don't give us stress.
Speaking on the recent collapse and subsequent merger of some banks by the Bank of Ghana, the Secretary of the Ghana Psychological Association, Dr. Collins Bedouajiman, explained the psychological dimension of the issue.
The Bank of Ghana has not done much when it comes to supporting the psychosocial well-being of people around the collapse. And this is a worry. If we do set up committees to investigate these banks, before we announce, do we create change readiness? Do we put in place a psychosocial support framework to support these people in the short term, in the long term?
You're still watching NEWSAT10 on TV3, which is also live on DSTV channel 279. We are back with some more stories after this break. Don't go away. Welcome back. You're still watching NEWSAT10 on TV3. A senior archaeologist and heritage lecturer at the University of Ghana, Professor Kojo Gavwa, has suggested the use of modern technology in telling the story of Ghana's history to effectively project the country's image. Speaking at the Elmina Castle on an exchange program, Professor Gavwa wants historical sites digitized for value addition to enhance tourism.
The exchange program is a collaboration between the University of Ghana and the University of Rochester. It seeks to combine archaeology with mechanical engineering and digital media technology with a view to contribute towards the conservation and preservation of forts and castles in Ghana.
This vault starts from the entrance of the castle all the way down to a steel wheel.
A structural engineer, Professor Renato Paruccio, said understanding the level of work put into the construction of the fort and castles by colonial masters provides a comprehensive data for the survival of historical monuments.
What we are looking at is to understand the sequence of construction of the castle so that we can possibly identify the Portuguese, the Dutch, and then the English contributions of modification of the castle. This has two levels of importance. On the one hand, it will contribute to understanding the history, because obviously the construction is it's a fundamental component of the history. The other one, and probably even more important, it will provide data, comprehensive data, for the survival of the castle.
A digital model lecturer at the University of Rochester insisted knowledge sharing on heritage and history breaks stereotypes and promotes diversity.
Heritage is part of identity. History, if you don't know who you are as a people, if you don't understand the past and the past that is all around you, you don't know the causes of tensions and problems in the present, and you certainly will not have a direction for the future. So even something as unpleasant and tragic as a slave trade where millions of people were put on ships and sent across to America, that is still a story for Ghana, important part of Ghana's history and connecting with the rest of the world.
The senior archaeology and heritage lecturer of the University of Ghana, Professor Kojo Gavwa, called for the use of modern technology to bridge the gap between the past and the present.
At the end of it all, we want to ensure that we come out with models and ways by which we can conserve such historic buildings through time for posterity, and also to add to the storyline that our tour guides present to visitors to the forts. So essentially, it's to enhance tourism and also to deepen our understanding of our past, because there's a huge disconnect between the present and the past.
The program is expected to come out with models and strategies to conserve historical monuments for posterity.
Let's talk education now, because the Education Minister, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, has welcomed 33 American Peace Corps education volunteers, admonishing them of having come at a time Ghana is going through educational reforms. Here is a report by Ebenezer Ejekumwati.
The Americans have gone through 10 weeks of training in Ghana and prepared to serve as Peace Corps volunteers. The volunteers will be teaching science, maths, visual arts and special education in schools in rural communities.
We serve with the knowledge and under the aegis of the government of Ghana, and will use the approaches put forth by the policies of the government of Ghana, which include free senior high school education, accountability, equity, and a focus on learning outcomes.
The chargé d'affaires of the U.S. Embassy in Accra, Christopher Lamora, challenged them to impact positively in communities they will be serving.
Commit yourselves to leaving your own legacy in the communities where you will be living and serving. How do you want to be remembered after you leave? Your name may well be remembered in the communities you serve decades from now, as will the impact of your work and your representation of the United States.
The volunteers have been taught basic local language skills to enable them communicate with indigents.
Doviwa Desaku Fifiabe Epechome
Nanyo
Awoba Kosukurene Nawonya Dachepa.
Education Minister Matthew Opoku Prempeh said the support by the volunteers is crucial as the country goes through its educational reforms.
Government's priority areas sit exactly where these volunteers are going through. We are going through huge curricular reform, both the teacher education and the pupil education. And so they are coming at a time when our science and maths results are not that good. So wherever they are going to do, I know they're going to make an impact in helping us improve our results, our learning objectives, our learning outcomes in science, maths, English, and visual arts.
Some of the volunteers shared their experiences and expectations.
I looked on social media, advertisements, grassy, dry areas with huts and trees and leaves and no cities. But when I came here, it's well developed, and I met very friendly people, and I feel really welcome.
I go back to America, maybe implementing some styles into the American curriculum and sort of combining the two styles together.
I think cuisine has been a big change for me. I was worried about the cuisine, if I would like it. Turns out I do love Ghanaian food. Okra stew is the only thing I don't like. Mempe and kromankrine. There we go. But I love fufu, I love banku. All the food has been great.
One of the highlights of the ceremony was a vote of thanks by Adam Foods.
Yede aseda kesie ma piskor edjuma yefwo se wanya adajie tete yen kwanpaso. Bio yede aseda piesie ma yen abusia fwo awone yentena abosome miensayi. Mwatete yen kama ama yaye Ghana fwo prekope.
The volunteers will spend 2 years in the country.
Interesting. We wish the volunteers well, even as they spend 2 years here in Ghana. Let's move away from that. The moderator of the General Assembly of the Evangelical Presbyterian Church Ghana, Right Reverend Dr. Seth Senyo Agidi, wants those advocating for churches to pay tax to properly define their stance, since some established churches already pay taxes. He, however, charged the Christian Council to lead a campaign to regulate churches in the country.
Right Reverend Dr. Seth Senyo Agidi was speaking at the Golden Jubilee service of the Bubuyashi parish in Accra. Although the moderator agreed with the call for churches to pay tax, he wants a proper definition of the scope to be taxed.
Over the years, the church has been paying taxes. Taxes in the form of salaries of the agents of the church. Institutions that are affiliated to the church that makes profits. If it's a guest house, a hotel, a school, a private school that makes profit, they must pay taxes. So if the government is coming or the president is saying that church must pay tax, we want it to be well defined. Is it talking about the offerings of the members or the tithes of the members?
He said the church must regulate its activities to ensure members are not taken for granted.
We must be regulated, but we don't want the government to regulate us. We want internal regulations. We have the Christian Council, we have the Catholic Bishop Council, we have the Pentecostal Council and the Charismatics. All these people should come out and have some kind of self-regulation
certification. Before you stand up to preach the word of God, and you must be certificated. Doctors are trained, they are professional, they have certificate, nurses and teachers. Why should someone stand up and say, because I can read the Bible, I am a pastor?
Obviously, the discussion around churches paying tax is one that is not ending anytime soon. For us here at NEWSAT10 on TV3, that's how we end today's edition. Many thanks for joining us. If you joined us on DSTV, it was live on channel 279. My name is Grace Hamwa Asari. Log on to 3news.com for some more stories. Good evening.